Hello, welcome back. This is Peter, the prophet of fiction, prophet of faction. Call me what you like, and please only what you like. I'm filling in for Travis. This is the final hour with Travis show. We got ourselves a couple of fun hours to pass together. Hopefully get some callers in today. I'm sure I raised plenty of questions and hope to do that today. Glad we started with Joe Walsh, A Life of Illusion. Indeed, we are deep in illusions, but some of us are coming out of the illusion, not the closet. No thanks. I never go into closets. Anyway, we do live in a world of illusions. Just listening to previous show discussing Greek myths, Roman history, and maybe some Bible. Well, I have bad news. It's all fake. It's all illusions. And they're not even good ones. There's so much explicit and implicit pedophilia, violence, and just outright foolishness that shouldn't interest us. Who isn't a little disturbed by all the threats and violence we find in the Bible? But there is much to explore there, much to unpack, unweave, expose. There is a subtext, rarely gets discussed. I will share some findings today. But first, let's have a look at my notes. I do tune into shows once in a while, and I noticed on July 22nd, I guess it was this year, Hour 2, the Authentic News Show with Jim Fetzer. Rick in Arizona called in and warned that thanks to Trump, we could have a fake war right now. He reminded us that Trump has a history with fakery worlds, Hollywood, all-star wrestling, casino industry. And he added regarding the current Iran war, 60 to 70 dead soldiers is not a war. No, not by the standards of the past. And he rightly wanted to see more evidence that a real war is underway. Well, no evidence will come, only evidence that nothing is happening there. Just a fabrication to raise oil prices, distract the people, justify funding the military, taking taxes, the usual. I think it was not only in Canada where war was the excuse for the income tax. Well, last week I listened to Travis and Mitchell speak, and Travis stated that everything is a psyop. Feels that way. I think Travis meant politics and the media. I would extend it to much more. In any case, minutes later, he and Mitchell were busy discussing media illusions as if they were real, even repeating many claims made by the media and by another guest on the show, recent guest, Brendan O'Connell. I understand it's not easy to escape from the matrix, the web of lies, the illusions we are fed in classrooms and 24/7 via the media. Books, paintings, everything. I've done quite a bit of work on paintings recently. It is the beginning of the media, books and paintings. And that's, I think I'm out of the matrix. And how did I manage? Well, I'm not so young anymore. I've also had the benefit of spending very little time working, relative to most men my age. And I've been quite responsible with my time, spent a lot of it reading, writing, reflecting. I'm currently working on finishing my 1.5 million word project, 6 books. But really none of that doesn't prove anything. Anyone can write long books. I'll be happy to be judged by the content. Now, a popular question among people trying to understand this world, people with questions, is who controls this world? I've addressed that a few times. The popular answer is the Jews. The Jews. Now, it's not a secret that Jews, or maybe at least fake Jews, occupy many seats of power. A little research and no critical thinking can produce the so-called evidence. But that is precisely why it must be questioned. It's too easy to prove. And the enemy works by casting spells and illusions. Who is really in power? Maybe the Jesuits. A little research can also produce so-called evidence that Jesuits ruled the world. But they are, in my opinion, another mask for the aristocratic families of the West. I faintly remembered a 12-year-old girl, U.S. girl, who proved that every U.S. president is related to King George, contemporary of President George Washington. Well, that might be another distraction and illusion. Might well be. They did play a nice game. They love their word games, you know. The U.S. Revolution. What exactly happened there? You replaced one George with another George. King George with President George Washington. It's a hint that nothing changed. Nothing essentially changed. The same aristocratic families remained in power. Politics is a world of illusion. And they love to leave us little clues because they know most of us will ignore them, and that gives them a chance to laugh at us. So, colonial history, old world buildings, so-called Tartarian buildings, if you like. Who built that? Not the Jews, not the Jesuits, not the Freemasons. They couldn't build anything except the world of illusions. But those physical structures are out there in every major city on this planet, seems like. I have some students in Beijing. They were surprised to realize, to learn from me that, yes, there are some colonial buildings there too. And apparently, Pyongyang in Korea, North Korea, was once considered a The Asian Jerusalem, it had so many. When I say old world buildings, I mean European buildings. So this is they are the people who rule this world. They are not few. They are not 13 families. They are probably in the millions by now. The colonial city and the old downtown colonial city in Mexico City would have held perhaps 100,000 aristocrats. And that's 100, 200 years ago. You look and you can visit lots of cities in Europe, North America, South America, Asia, North Africa, and add up how many aristocrats once populated this planet. Those buildings, those buildings were not occupied by your great-grandfather, my great-grandfather. They are the elites, the aristocrats who magically vanished 100, 150 years ago, went, if you like, undercover. No, they didn't go into hiding. There was a reset, and they decided to run the world differently. And they're probably among us running everything. For what purpose? Not for money. They make money. They print money. They inflate it, deflate it as they like. I think we're just here to entertain them. They are sadists, of course. It's not good entertainment. I've spoken in the past about nation states. So much discussion regarding geopolitics is founded, if not all of it is founded, on the belief that sovereign nation states actually exist. They don't. They were all created by the same people who divided this world as one might cut a pie into slices, some 200 slices, 200 countries. And the people who live in them all think their countries are sovereign and independent, and the conflicts between them, economic, military, cultural, are real conflicts. Well, they're not really. I mean, they are stressful for us, but they are manufactured by the people who run the whole show. And we don't make much sense if we think that if we fall for the show, if we take the show literally. It is theater, and we would be wise to wake up to that fact and stop wasting time on the theater of geopolitics. We have more important things to worry about, really, as I've said in the past, and as Rick chimed in on that, saying there's only 60 or 70 dead soldiers in this Iran war. Really unconfirmed. I'd like to see the evidence too. But compare that to the toll taken by cancer and various other diseases. Those are in the millions, not tens of millions per year globally. Does it make the news? No. Should it make the news? Absolutely. Should it be discussed here? Absolutely. I'm aware that we do have some good health-focused shows. and deservedly so. Well, what were some signs that we're in a one-world empire, that all countries are really just one empire? Well, every nation was on the same page when Operation COVID-19 went ahead. Very little dissent on national levels there. Yes, they tell us some African presidents mysteriously died during Operation COVID-19 because coincidentally, they were the same presidents or prime ministers who resisted the WHO's mandates. But now I'm not convinced that they ever actually, what shall we say, assassinated clandestinely. It's probably just part of the show. Seems to me that all assassinations and assassination attempts are theater. They don't kill their own people, and they don't let potential rebels into seats of power. They have too much to lose. I mean, the people they elect, they put into seats of power, have too much to lose. They've probably sworn blood oaths. So, I'm not convinced that people are getting assassinated. So, of course, that applies more than anywhere in the U.S. with its string of, what is it, six presidents who have been assassinated. 5, I don't know their names. I just know that, was it 3 of them were all assassinated on your Independence Day? Yeah, how is that going to happen by coincidence? No, it's more evidence that we're not dealing with lone wolves. We're dealing with people who like patterns, numbers, irony. President Kennedy, really, he made powerful enemies in the Pentagon, the not-so-Federal Reserve. But he decided to participate in a parade in a convertible automobile down Dallas streets, I believe, with his wife, all exposed. Not naked, no. Exposed, just not protected by bulletproof glass, despite being the one president who made enemies with powerful people in his own, military world. Does that make any sense? Would you do that with your wife beside you? No, but it certainly helps set up the assassination narrative. Wouldn't work without being in a convertible. So we're being played. We're being played every day by these actors. Yeah. Brendan O'Connell tried to play us. I'm afraid he did. And he lost it when he was challenged by the suggestion that his field of expertise, geopolitics, especially the Middle East, This pure theater, just a world of illusion, one big psyop. No, we didn't like that. That pulled the rug from under his feet, and yeah, well, he lost it. I'm being polite. Just put it in those words. So, yeah, but there are other signs we should be aware of, that should raise flags. Really. He told us to get rid of our cell phones if we don't like data centers and being surveilled. Get rid of your cell phones if you don't like being surveilled. I'm not sure that will quite solve the problem. The cell phone is just part of the problem. But it is a non sequitur. It doesn't follow. I mean, the complaint we have is that the technology that's out there is being misused. Not necessary for cell phones to spy on us, for televisions to spy on us, for our cars starting next year, or I think officially all new cars in the U.S. will spy and report everything we do in a car. Is that really necessary? Is it necessary to put technology to the worst possible use? Well, I guess that's what the Colonel, I like to, my little pseudonym for him, I guess that's what the Colonel wants us to believe, that we have no choice in the matter. And if the powers of this world want to put technologies to the worst possible use, we got to put up with it, roll over, bend over. Yeah. Or shoot yourself, as he told Doug when he called in and spoke and would express that maybe everything was a psyop. Yeah, you don't like it? Go kill yourself. Sounds very reasonable. He has no pity for the common people. He wants to keep the conversation about the imaginary wars and not talk about the noose that is tightening around us economically, technologically, culturally, what's happening to our new generation of children. Teachers can hardly recognize them as children or students. This new tech, the media, has really done a bad dance on their heads. Yeah, thanks to the technology. But that doesn't concern some people. No, they want to talk about fake wars. Addiction to tech? No, that's of no concern to us. The fact that we have millions of people who go to school to learn what, to do what, to work in grocery stores, in warehouses. Yeah, I've done my share. I know what it's like. Do they know what it's like to have a real job? Do they know what the people, who the people are? Mm-hmm. Who's paying for their jet-set lifestyles? I remember the Colonel also said, well, if you don't like it out there, yeah, dump your smartphone and be a prepper. He just said, get 8 years of food and hide out in your bunker. How out of touch are you? 8 years of food and crawl into a bunker. Who can afford that? Americans, Canadians, Mexicans. Most people around the world can barely get by week to week, month to month. 8 years of food. And most people can hardly afford to rent an apartment. Who can buy land and have a house and a bunker under it or somewhere on it? No, some people are really very much out of touch. And he went off praising Hitler. What can I say? Hitler was a good actor. And no, I do not absolve Hitler for bringing Germany to its knees for a second time. That was not an accident. Well, and such mockery, really mockery. When you say that America is the greatest country on earth because you can carry an AR-15, which you can't in Australia, in most places. No. I mean, this is the mindset of I'm at a loss of words. A hoodlum, a thug. I don't mean that the freedom to carry weapons has no benefits. I've had to look into buying a weapon myself, not for myself. My daughter has had some incidents, and I thought, she needs something. No, you can't do that in Canada. You can basically get nothing. And yes, there are Americans who prevent crimes because they are armed. But let's continue that thought. Let's continue. We have a break. More illusions. Big jet plane they call the Lolita Express. I got me a red tie and it's 10 feet long and it matches my red hat. I got me a red bird and a red fish, a red dog and a red cat, and I got me a red pen and I use it. I got a big red chainsaw.
I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
You're listening to Republic Broadcasting Network. Real news, real talk, real people. Because you can handle the truth.
Are you really prepared? There's one critical piece most people forget. When disaster strikes, the most powerful survival tool isn't in your hands, it's in your head. But here's the hard truth. Knowledge disappears fast when the grid goes down. That's why we created the Preparedness Tablet, the first and only off-grid digital library designed specifically for survival situations. We've done the work for you. This rugged, portable tablet comes preloaded with a massive library of practical knowledge, food preservation and storage, emergency medical care, off-grid living and homesteading, security, defense, and more. It's indexed, searchable, organized, and powered by a free solar charger, so you'll never be without it. It also comes with a protective hard case, and you can upgrade it with supplemental survival files and EMP protection. Whether it's a power outage, social unrest, or a full-blown crisis, this tablet gives you instant access to skills that save lives. From treating wounds to growing food, even saving cherished family documents and photos, this Preparedness Tablet is your silent partner when things go sideways. You can't know it all, but you can carry it with you. Preloaded with survival knowledge, runs 100% off-grid, backup and store your own files, lightweight, portable, and solar-powered. Join thousands of Americans closing the last gap in the emergency prep. Visit our website now and get peace of mind in the palm of your hand. The Preparedness Tablet also makes a thoughtful and potentially life-saving gift. Invest in yourself, protect your family. Visit www.comcoms.link. That's www.comcoms.link. Be ready, be smart, be the one who plans ahead. We also offer custom portable radios that come pre-configured for your local area. Included with these versatile radios is free basic training to get you up to speed quickly on how to use your radio. Visit our website today and learn all about our unique products. Comcoms.link. COMCOMS.link.
My name is John. I'm the founder of Blackout Coffee, and I started Blackout because I really love coffee. I've always loved coffee, and after traveling so much to Europe, South America, and trying so many different coffees that were so good, and every time I came back to the U.S., I was so disappointed with the coffee, so I figured that I had to do something about it. The biggest difference is on the beans and the roasting process, how we roast it, and how fresh it is. The fresher the roast, the better the quality. Here I have all of the coffee. It's roasted within 1 to 2 days prior to being shipped. So it literally gets to consumer's house within 3 to 5 days after being roasted. If you like coffee, you have to try ours. It's fresh roasted. It's one of the best beans that we can get, and you will definitely see the difference.
Visit blackoutcoffee.com and use the coupon code REPUB10. That's REPUB10.
People often write to tell us what has happened for them since starting Extendivite. Allow me to read a few. In 1 month, my blood pressure dropped significantly. I no longer get chest pain after exercise. It's amazing, and I ordered my second bottle. The reviews are spot on. My target is to get off BP meds, and if it keeps going like this, I see a light at the end of the tunnel. So far, a great product is what it claims to be. Great product. A few days in, and I could feel a difference for certain. Not checking medical stats yet. I know this is really working by how I feel. We'll continue to take this product. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit extendivite.com. That's XTENDOVITE.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
What would you say if I told you we have a new tool that will increase production and lower maintenance costs for your meat processing company? And it would pay for itself in just 6 weeks.
When pigs fly!
The new Ease Off Model Easy 4 replaces old spring-style carcass droppers and is faster, safer, and more reliable. The Ease Off lowers or lifts 1,000 pounds to or from your rail automatically using our remote control.
Sounds expensive. Can I afford it?
Can you afford not to try the Ease Off? It installs fast with just 3 bolts in place of your current dropper. The effortless operation will reduce fatigue and injuries, speed up your line, eliminate downtime, and increase profit.
How can I order my Ease Off?
Go to easeoff.com, EAZEOFF.com, and hurry, because we are offering $200 off on the new Easy 4 for a limited time. Easeoff.com. We make pigs fly. Cows, too. Ease Off LLC, Summersville, Missouri. 417-932-6419.
My red friend likes that white powder, makes his arms do weird salutes. When the war gets here, we're all gonna hold hands. All the Baptists and the Catholics, all the Marxists and the fascists. When the war gets here, we're gonna get on the level. Everyone looks a little bit nicer when you finally meet the devil. I had me a red talk on a red day, looking for a thank you dressed in blue. If you want.
All right, welcome back. This is still the Prophet of Fiction, filling in for Travis and hosting his final hour with Travis show. I was, before the break, in the middle of something about guns, freedom to carry guns. And yes, of course, they have their benefits for people who can prevent some crimes against them. That does happen. But, let's be serious. break-ins, burglaries, violent confrontations, domestic, mostly. These are not the things that are killing Americans or people generally. What does? What does? Toxic food, toxic medicines, traffic accidents, workplace accidents, stress. Yeah, you can't stop these things with a gun. Knowledge would be helpful. For sure, with regards to food and medicine. But, yeah, well, I will be talking about food today, turns out. And the economy, that great generator of stress for people. It's driving people mad now with food prices, inflation, rent inflation, mortgages, taxes. Yeah, can't shoot that stuff down. It takes a different kind of solution. Not even a violent revolution. No, it probably will never happen. And if it did, the people who control this country, your country, this world, they know how to turn off the lights so fast. And it won't be funny. No, you don't like their world? Start protesting too much. I'm sure they could dismantle it in the blink of an eye. Have the grid come down. Turn off the internet. Where would we be? Yeah, we're in their pockets. Don't even dream about trying to improve the system. People have been dreaming about that for, dare I say, centuries? A century. Let's give it a century. Century and a half. Even more. In any case, look where we are. Yeah. Less healthy, less independent, less leisure than ever. But we got the nice toys. We have the nice toys. I think what will happen is people will walk away. It's already happening. People are choosing to live in their cars, mobile homes. What's next? Log houses and tents? Adobe homes? People are leaving. People have joined. People have built their homesteads, off-grid living situations, eco-villages. There are a few, not many. It's a trickle that's happening. But I think the dam will burst, especially if people realize that there is no fixing this system, and the solutions that will be offered to us will be all dressed up very nicely, but will be much worse than what we came from. We're talking about smart cities, the smart world, that electronic prison, which will not be luxurious, not offer any real leisure time for anyone, no freedoms, all in the name of saving the planet and keeping us safe, of course. Safe from imaginary viruses and imaginary enemies in the Middle East, in China, in Russia, or your local, what do we call them, white supremacists. They can make up 1 million enemies and never point at themselves. Ourselves, too, we are our own worst enemies by complying and not thinking through what's happening, not looking at the evidence that we're being played. Yeah, we can do much better. Let's see, maybe I'll do some reading. I can't just talk off the top of my head for 2 hours. It'd be nice to have a caller. But I do have some good material to read, if I may say so. I'm going to read a piece about taxation from my massive debunking of the Bible. Just a moment as I search for that. Taxation. The Bible does have a few things to say about it. And I intend to share a little. Let's see, where are you? The anti-health, oops. And maybe it's there. Submit to taxation. In the chapter titled The Spirit of Submission. I begin. The Council of Trent, 1545 to 1563. Of course, it is pure fiction, but nevertheless, the Council of Trent in the books tells us that it, or they, explicitly forbade Catholics from questioning the authenticity and authority of the book of Revelation, the Epistle to the Hebrews, and 5 other New Testament books. That is funny because it assumes Christians are capable of questioning the Bible. In general, they don't. That is anathema to being faithful and believing. Only the devil dares to have doubts, so they tell us. Well, what makes the above 7 unquestionable texts so special? Nothing, really. All of the Bible's books are extremely questionable. The first 5 chapters of the Epistle to Hebrews explicitly argue that Jews, Hebrews, should pay the typical medieval 10% tax rate to Jesus, which means everyone else is off the hook. Only Jews. That's funny. Well, it is the epistle to the Hebrews, not to the Romans. But they're not off the hook. Would they have written that? Maybe not. The same epistle also argues that Jews traditionally pay taxes to a non-Jewish representative of God, and it argues that this tradition began with the father of Judaism, Abraham, when he paid a sum of his wealth to none other than Melchizedek, who represents a long line of great priests that includes Jesus, supposedly. I quote, oh, great. Let me, let's take him. Hello?
Yeah, Mike over here of Kentucky in the Bible Belt, as some call it. What were you about to say about Melchizedek and the priest?
He charged Abraham 10% of his winnings, of his loot.
Yeah, well, the mentality is it all came from, the father, so you're just giving 10 out of the 9, 10% out of the 10 shares that you got, so
it seems fair.
If you actually, to whom much is given, much is required is a concept. But no, the government sure takes more than 10%, doesn't it?
It sure does. It takes more every year. Yeah.
Yeah.
More every year.
Tax Freedom Day. When I first heard of Tax Freedom Day, it was sometime in middle of May. Mm-hmm. I don't think they were counting all the tax on tax and hidden taxes and subsidies and price supports. Yeah, it's probably before you get to if you're lucky enough to have any extra spending cash, you're probably done paying for government sometime in August before you even pay your own rent and food and clothes and transportation to work. And it's discretionary spending is a real luxury if you've got any.
That's what I hear.
If you're like
people with
driving used cars and not making car payments.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's getting really rough out there.
Well, it's been that way for a long time. I graduated when economic downturn occurred after they ran Carter out of office, and everybody was talking about how great Reagan was going to be, but not around here. There was a lot of guys, family men, couldn't find jobs to save their life, and it was better to work, part-time, 30 hours a week or something, and sign up and draw food stamps or whatever. And then the bosses were mad about that because they couldn't get anybody to work, full-time, but they wouldn't pay in a living wage where a man could support a family. And, that was inflation hitting hard in the early 80s. And then again in the early 90s, just about every time that I was really needing to be in the job market, it was awful around here. And then you've got reverse discrimination and all that fun stuff. So if I could figure out who to give my 10% to that wouldn't be sent straight to Israel,
someone who
wasn't supporting anti-Christian efforts that are actually killing Christians in a lot of places. I mean, let alone Lebanon.
Just anti-life policies, for... Oh, sorry. All right.
I can't hear you there.
All right. Not... Okay. Okay. Yeah. We were, Mike and I were discussing, mostly Mike was sharing his experience with taxation. And indeed, I've heard that there's a movement now starting people not paying their credit cards. So maybe that should also extend to taxes.
Yeah, some people, they say you're taxed to death, but when you die, sometimes debts can get written off. So I wouldn't be surprised if people figure out ways to fake their own death so they could get the credit card companies to write off their debt.
Yeah, right. No, I've heard people say that they just stopped paying their credit card, and then they check their credit rating, and it's improving. So. What madness out there. It is really crazy.
Well, there's plenty of people that play the game where they get the zero interest credit card for a year and they transfer everything into that and then get another one in 11 months and transfer it to that, just keep the zero interest thing going and make a few payments. Mm-hmm. If you're never late, then that'll improve your credit rating and you can go out and get a personal loan and get rid of the credit cards before the 26% interest rate or something kicks in, 29%, whatever. It's crazy. But usury has not been a crime for a long time. used to be a crime.
Right. Yeah, it should be.
Yeah. But what you were
Usury,
talking about
fraction.
in the Bible was what I called about.
Oh, yes.
Getting into debunking the Bible. I think, unfortunately, there's the credibility problem that the gospel has is a lot of the people that say they're following it and they're not. And they don't they don't want to acknowledge. They don't want to acknowledge
that does disillusion plenty of people. Yeah, that does disillusion plenty of people, and not to mention, when the church's involvement in the past with wars, the Crusades to get quoted. I don't even believe the Crusades happened anymore, but stuff like that gets quoted by people who are disillusioned and want to discredit
why did
Christianity,
the
at
Crusades
least.
happen? Why did the Crusades happen?
Why did they happen?
It took
well,
hundreds of years. It took hundreds of years for the Crusades to even get enough momentum to happen, and they were very short. But from 700 and something A.D. through to, 1100 A.D., 1050 A.D., 300 years, the Islamic jihad ran rampant all around and destroyed the Byzantine economy.
Right.
And the Mediterranean economy. They burned libraries. Anything that didn't have to do with Muhammad, they burned it, and they let their goats just overrun the agriculture. They found a layer of silt in most of the harbors where you can tell before and after the Islamic raids, because all the erosion that was destroyed all the Byzantine agriculture. They left the Roman agriculture in place, the Byzantines did, because they knew what sense it made.
Well, Mike, I am into debunking just about everything, and I do read extensively, and I also debunk, the Roman Empire, the Islamic Empire. I believe there has been no empire except one empire. It is a one-world empire. It is controlled by Western Europeans, aristocracy. There has been no other empire. And everything else is just the media. I don't care if it's in books. I don't respect books anymore, no more than I do electronic media.
Sure.
The idea
just because
that
it's in a book
Christians,
doesn't make it true.
Right, and the idea that Christians, Western European Christians, marched over Eastern Europe to get to the Middle East, or sailed around it to get to the Middle East, because somehow they got really excited by the idea that Jesus was born there, and therefore it needs to be, or was there some kind of natural resource there? Like, I don't know. I don't see any natural resource there, not in the pre-fossil fuel days. So the story.
One of the things that was happening though was the Barbary pirates supposedly were facilitating the imams kidnapping, and of course apparently the Jews were involved with this. And that's one of the reasons they got kicked out of Spain was the warlords like Tamerlane could order up 1,000 blonde virgins, and they'd go kidnap them out of France and Spain and send them over there.
Right.
Some estimates are there was up to 1 million slaves captured out of Europe. That'll tick you off to lose your daughters.
Yeah, for sure.
So they were able to intervene in just a very few dozen battles, I think, and set Islam on its heels a little bit, and saved some remnant of Christianity in Lebanon, Syria, and Judea, I guess you could say, and on up into Turkey. I think there was a lot of destruction, though. The so-called golden age of Islam, no, not really. I think it's propaganda, like you say. All these empires put out propaganda that makes it sound like they're great. And what happened? What happened in Spain and the the battles, they got when it got close to what's the capital of Spain? I can't remember.
Is it Madrid or
maybe? Yeah, maybe
the
Islamic. Yeah, the Islamic people. Whenever they took over towns in southern Spain, Christians had to wear special garments where you could tell that they were Christians at a distance, and they were considered a dhimmi, which is a non-citizen slave. So after a while, they got fed up with that, just like any society would. You get tired of being a slave, even if you're not called a slave.
Right.
But there's textbook propaganda.
That's an interesting story. And I haven't heard about the Muslims requiring Christians to have special dress that identifies them, but
there's a lot you haven't heard. It's filtered.
It's, of course, I haven't read everything, but it's reminiscent of stories that that Jews had to identify themselves as Jews with this visible mark.
Yeah.
And I think these stories are all written in order to create conflict between us.
Yep. Oh my goodness.
Okay.
Yeah, it's almost the bewitching hour, midnight.
Yeah, depends on your time zone.
Well, that's what I wanted to talk about, was the time statements that are completely perverted in the Bible.
All right. Are we going to have a break? I think.
I can hear the music.
I'm waiting for the music.
Did you know the IRS publicly admits that income tax is collected by voluntary compliance? Get the information you need to help you avoid income tax with these 5 easy steps. All you have to do is go to avoidincometax.com to get your 5 easy steps on how to avoid the IRS income tax. Escape the IRS. Let avoidincometax.com help you. We guarantee our 5 easy steps or your money back. Go to avoidincometax.com.
Susanna's Secret, Real Essential Oils of Nature, would like to thank you and RBN listeners for your previous purchases. We're announcing that we have a new waterless diffuser in stock with a full 1-year warranty. You just insert the bottle to the top, screw it in, tip it upside down, set your timer, or it's also motion activated at FURION.com. That's FURION.com. That's FURION.com.